All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez explaining why he rejected the Errol Spence Jr. fight. I ain't buying it. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are going to talk about the two of the biggest names in boxing in this video. Saul Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed champion at 168 pounds, and Errol Spence Jr., three-belt holding champion at 147 pounds, and the aftermath of word breaking that Canelo Alvarez turned down a fight with Errol Spence Jr. And we're going to talk about what Canelo Alvarez and his trainer, Eddie Reynoso, had to say about it. But before that, let me welcome you back to the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. For the subscribers and longtime supporters, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can get all the notifications when we release videos, which we do on a daily basis. We do live streams on a daily basis. Really good boxing community. I think you'll enjoy the conversation, whether you whether or not you agree with my opinion or not. All right, and this, Canelo Alvarez fans are probably not going to agree with my opinion. Many other people, however, who are not on the Canelo Alvarez bandwagon, I think will be able to see where I'm coming from. So first things first. Canelo Alvarez was offered, it came out yesterday from Tom Brown of TGB, that there was a offer made to Canelo Alvarez to fight Jermall Charlo for $45 million. Either Errol Spence Jr. at a catchweight of 164 or David Benavidez at 168 pounds for $55 million. Total package for Canelo Alvarez of $100 million for the fight. Canelo Alvarez turns all of that down and takes a two-fight deal with DAZN at 45. I don't know how much there is, but it's significantly less. Is the reports are significantly less are the reports for the reported numbers for the two-fight deal for Demetrius Bivol and Gennady Golovkin. Whatever the case is, though, he takes that fight. Now that Canelo Alvarez is going to fight Demetrius Bivol this weekend, he was asked questions at an interview about it. And we get two sets of answers. One from Eddie Reynoso, who is Canelo Alvarez's trainer, and the other from Canelo Alvarez himself. Eddie Reynoso says that they turned down the Errol Spence Jr. fight because they were already in deep negotiations for the Bivol fight, or they had pretty much already agreed on the Bivol fight before they were offered the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Now, that flies in the face of what Eddie Reynoso himself had said when the news of that deal had originally broken out. If you recall, Mike Coppinger was the first mainstream guy to report that it was a two-fight deal was made for him, or two-fight deal was made for Jermall Charlo and somebody else who was originally reported as David Benavidez for Canelo Alvarez. And then you had Mike Coppinger then after that say, oh, it looks like he's going to go with the DAZN deal. However, Eddie Reynoso said, no, we haven't made our mind up about what we're going to do. We'll let you know when we announce it. I think Canelo Alvarez also said something that was untrue, that he had accepted the deal. So you will hear from him and his camp when the deal is actually official and made, right? Now, that's not to say that they couldn't have put Errol Spence Jr. into the offer at a later point in time to try to maybe sweeten the deal. That is definitely possible. But anyway, that is just on his face seems a little bit off from the timing of Eddie Reynoso's comments before. Now, the interesting thing for me is what Canelo Alvarez said. And I'm telling you, man, this is the thing that really does rub a lot of people wrong about the wrong way about Canelo. Canelo Alvarez said, why would I, when asked about the Errol Spence Jr. fight, he says, why would I do that? I don't need to do that. Why would I fight him at a catchweight? I don't need to do that. Of 164. All right. Now, if it was just the case, and this is just how I feel, if it was just the case that he turned down Errol Spence Jr., I would say, okay, he didn't want a catchweight fight with Errol Spence Jr. He doesn't want to come down to 164. Maybe there's a chance that the fight with Gennady Golovkin is not at 160. Because from what I understand, Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Gennady Golovkin after he beats Bivol, which I think is a foregone conclusion. But after he fights Bivol, he's going to fight Gennady Golovkin. Is he going to fight Gennady Golovkin at 168, or is he going to fight Gennady Golovkin at 160? Gennady Golovkin has never fought above 160. If he's willing to fight Gennady Golovkin at 160 and he's not willing to fight Errol Spence Jr. at 164, that sounds a little bit funny. However, if it was only Errol Spence Jr. that he has turned down and not fought, that would be something you can understand, right? But what it seems like is that the numbers of people that Canelo Alvarez is turning down who are higher quality fighters, right? The numbers are growing. And many people reasonably believe that the fighters he's turning down are better fighters than the fighters that he's agreeing to. Most supporters of what Canelo Alvarez is doing with these bigger weight classes with European fighters are putting out the concept that these guys are tougher, these guys are bigger, they're tougher, but that is not always the case. Just because somebody is bigger and fighting at a higher weight class, that does not necessarily mean that he is a better or a more difficult fight or a tougher fight from guys that are fighting in the same weight range that particular fighter fights in. Canelo Alvarez, for no matter what y'all want to say, people want to say, he did not clear out 160. He did not clear out 168. What he's doing is he's getting the titles because he is a cash cow. And the money and the people that have those titles are quickly willing to fight him, whether or not those guys are top-notch fighters or not. It's not the case that, and this is my belief, and I believe of a lot of other people, that Rocky Fielding, that Callum Smith, that Billy Joe Saunders, or let's just stick to the people he won the belts off of, well, Rocky Fielding he did win a belt off of, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, and Yildirim, because they are fighting at 168, are better competition than guys like Erislandy Lara, who's now at 160, Jamal Charlo that is at 160, and Demetrius Andrade that is at 160. And definitely not the case of Gennady Golovkin, who's at 160 and who is 40 years old, 6-7 years older than Canelo and 6-7 years older than Andrade and Charlo. The thing is that Canelo Alvarez is substituting bigger guys for better guys and not fighting guys who are around his same age range, same weight range, who are also undefeated champions. And you hear people talk about how these other guys are champions. Yes, they're champions, but not all champions are built equally. And when you point to the fact that, well, who of these guys fought? Look, Canelo Alvarez is the cash cow in the division. The question isn't who have all these other guys fought. The question really is, if you're a champion in that weight division, are you going to defend your belt in that weight division against all comers? And that's not what he's willing to do. He's holding the 168-pound titles, but even you go down to 160. There are at least 3 people he did not fight at 160. There are, if Charlo moves up to 168, there'll be 3 people he won't fight at 168. 175, if he fights Arthur Beterbiev, 3 fights at 175, but we'll see if he fights Arthur Beterbiev. But anyway, the idea that he's not fighting Errol Spence Jr. because he doesn't have to do why would he have to go to 164? Well, my question is really, I don't really have any faith that if Errol Spence Jr. said, okay, just make the weight limit 168. I'll just fight you at 168, come at the 168-pound limit. I'll come at 164. I don't have any faith that fight would be made either, because it seems that that Canelo Alvarez is taking the heavier fighters with less skill over the smaller ones that have more skill and may be more dangerous to him because he has problems with smaller fighters, not guys that are big and have the same style that he knows how to beat. Because that's what he said about Bivol. He said, I know how to beat that style. Yeah, but these other guys are not that style, and he has difficulties with other styles, and he's not fighting the guys that have anything resembling those styles. But anyway, it is what it is. Beating a dead horse on this, but I'm going to beat this dead horse until Canelo retires, because I'm having hope that we'll actually get to see a fight that I want to see out of Canelo. Not just the ones that you can say, oh, he's got this particular belt and, you know, he's at a bigger weight class. Look, he's making history by how many you can't even make any more history moving up weight classes. Roy Jones Jr.'s already done it. James Toney already did it. Sugar Ray Robinson already did it. You can tell fighter after fighter. Manny Pacquiao already went up a bunch of weight classes. There's no way that Canelo was going to be able to do something that Roy Jones Jr. already didn't do, you know? But the difference between him and Roy Jones is that Roy Jones actually fought his contemporaries, the best contemporaries of him, at the weight class when they were in their prime in the same weight class as him. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.